How lovely to be speaking to you guys. And I've very recently watched your movie, and I am just so full of admiration for all three of you. I'm going to start with the director, first of all, and talk me through what made you want to make this kind of movie at this moment in time in India's history.
I'd been searching for the right story to make as my second film. Honestly, I'm really interested in women's experiences, and all my films have always I've been interested to have women at the center of them. And when I read this story, I felt that this was the perfect vehicle to sort of explore lots of themes of what women go through at various stages in their lives. So, it was also a journey film, this sort of archetypal journey where these characters at the end of the journey not just find where they need to go, but also find a little bit of themselves in the process. And there's this journey of growth. So that really attracted me to the story, and that's why I decided that this would be my second film.
I guess my next question to both lead actresses is to say how did you get involved in this, and how did you envisage inhabiting those characters? Talk me through. I'll start with you, and Tanshi. Let's go. Let's start with you. How did you get involved in this?
Well, the simplest form, the way we get films, I auditioned for it. And even the audition has to be very memorable because the script was really beautiful, strong. It had such a high performing quality. Uh, in fact, before the audition, I prepped overnight. I watched all kinds of old films to get the body language of Phool, the way she carries her sarees, the way she looks at people, the way she talks, the way she sits. And I prepped overnight, and I was so excited to audition for this one. I told my mama, we have to crack this film. We have to do everything that's in our power to get this. And then next morning, I self taped. I did the self tape. I sent my auditions 3 takes, and I sent it with fingers crossed, toes crossed. And I was like, hopefully, I get a good message from them. Hopefully, they like my audition. Turns out the same day by afternoon, I got a message that Kiran ma'am and Amish sir liked my audition. I had no idea that it was an Amir Khan production film and that Kiran ma'am was directing it. So it was like back to back surprises hitting me. And they were like, can you meet Amish sir for lunch? I was like, this is a question nobody would say no to. So I almost ran up with my mama. I was like, we have to go there. And I met Kiran ma'am. I performed the 3 scenes in front of Kiran ma'am. And she was like, this is my Phool, that's for sure. She is my living real life Phool. And that's how I was onboarded in the film.
Pratibha, talk me through your involvement in this and your experience of auditioning, or so how you got involved with it.
So as soon as I read the audition script, I was able to connect with the script on so many levels because, being a average Indian girl, I'm able to relate to the script on so many levels. Like how Jaya, she was fighting for her struggle. I think those things that really stayed with me. And then I decided that I want to be a part of this film. And as Nitanshi said, there was this audition we had to appear for. Then we auditioned in front of Kiran ma'am. All that happened, and after that we were on board. And for me, I think just to connect with my character, Jaya's character, I think was a bigger thing because I was in a way telling stories of so many Indian girls out there, so many of them struggling for freedom. And I think that was something that really stayed with me, and I was like, I want to be a part of this film. I want to say Jaya's story.
Kiran, you've used quite a bit of humor in this. Was that important for you to sort of, because it's a very sort of, a really deep and meaningful subject, and it's sometimes quite sad, but you've chosen to introduce a lot of humor into it. What was the reason behind that?
I think humor and making people sort of take a laugh even at themselves is one of the better ways to critique anything. When you actually want to take apart, say, something that has been conditioned in society, one of the best vehicles is humor, because people are the most actually receptive and open when they are laughing. And you're able then to hold up a mirror perhaps to show certain sides of society that we don't really want to see. But when you're doing it through a satire, a lot of home truths become palatable. And that's why I thought humor would be the best sort of vehicle to tell a story of women's struggles, of women's experiences, and honestly, fairly untold truths about what women go through, even in a conventional marriage, or whether they have a choice about it. So, yeah, I thought humor would be the best way to address a lot of fairly sticky and, maybe even difficult subjects.
Mm. And Nitanshi, your character, I mean, you are a very young person to start with. I mean, you must have been 16 when you filmed this. And we know there are many brides that are even younger than that when they get married. Was it important for you to put yourself into the mind and heart of those women before you who probably didn't have the same experience in life as you, who had to sort of do the things their parents made them do in order to survive in their society? Was it important for you to try and understand her?
Firstly, when I was shooting for the film, I was 14. I am currently 17, completed 18 running, and the Phool is a 19-year-old, very naive girl. So the innocence I could understand, but also when I speak about Phool, and not just me, I think the audiences themselves, if they've come up to me separately, they've told me this, that we don't see Phool as a timid character. We actually see her as a very strong-willed girl who took very strong decisions, who went through all of those downfalls, all of those things happened to her, but still she had a smile on her face. She managed to win Manjumai's heart. She managed to create her own place at Strangers Shelter. And she also had this very entrepreneurial learning spirit, because imagine a girl who's lost on a train and she manages to be able to become financially independent. She helped Manjumai with the tea stall that we have. So all of those qualities about Phool really stood out to me. And I believe that this is something that I see in every woman in India. All of these women are so strong, so confident, so powerful, and so much more capable. I see my mama, I see my nanny, I see women all around me. Every woman you take as an example, she has that innocence, a flower-like feeling, like Phool in them, and a flower which is not just so timid and shy, but also very strong.
Yeah. Pratibha, your character, she is very astute. She's someone who knows exactly what she wants from life. And she's not going to let a simple thing like being married off to someone she doesn't even love get in between her and her aspirations. Do you see yourself in her at all?
Yeah, I absolutely see myself in her, because because I'm able to understand that emotion when you come from a small town, when you're not exposed to so many perks around you, when you really have to fight for a smallest thing, whether that's keeping your opinion in front of your family, when you actually have to fight for that time, the only thing, you become very rebellious. That time you want to come out of that shell, you want to do things for yourself, you want to feel a sense of freedom. And I think that's something that everyone wants to do. So I think that is something that I really connected with.
Kiran, I want to go back to the themes of the movie, because you also talk about, you address themes such as corruption in the forces and police forces, and you do it with humor, but also with really punching sort of, you dare to do it. Is there any worry that might make you somehow a target in India by addressing those things?
Well, I certainly am not the first, and there have been several films before me that look at, many things like corruption that are pretty systemic in our country, in some of the forces, and even in everyday life, essentially, which have done it far more boldly than I have. Our idea was really to walk that line to say, look, there's all kinds of problems perhaps that we have, but there are characters who we could quite easily draw conclusions about, but end up being quite gray. And even a character like Manohar, who you absolutely don't trust when you see him at the beginning of the film, you realize has the capacity to change, has the capacity to reach inside himself and do something good as well. So I think it really was addressing something that's quite in some ways passe in the country. We've seen films entirely about, say, corruption or violence or all kinds of things, violence against women in our country. But this was a way, in some way, to allude to those things without making them the subject of the film, to kind of talk about people and how we can all be allies and you can find goodness where you least expect it.
Yeah, I want to talk to you also about the fact that the film was picked as India's entry for the Oscars. How does that feel, all of you? For all of you, how does that feel? How did you feel about finding out that that was happening?
Oh, we were absolutely delighted. We were over the moon. We didn't expect it at all, and so it came really from left field, and so it was a great, wonderful surprise to have been chosen, because it's a year when there were great films in consideration. So the fact that the jury said that they were fairly unanimous in picking us was in itself, it's a great honor to have been chosen to represent India to begin with, because we have so many kinds of cinema and such great films made in so many languages. So yeah, we were over the moon, and we are really going to do our best to make India proud.
And we were both very, not just us, in fact, everybody associated with the film was just so, so, so happy. And it came out as such a beautiful surprise that hit us immediately. I was in the middle of one of my workshops, and the people who were there with me in the workshop, they told me that your film is going to the Oscars. It's all over the internet. I'm like, how is this happening? And I have no clue about it. So I started searching on internet, and bit by bit, I'm seeing the news. And then I went to the WhatsApp, and I patiently waited for Kiran ma'am's lovely message saying that yes, this news is true. And there came up a message. I was dancing around with joy. I hugged my mama. We had a little emotional moment, because it is such a big honor for this to happen to any of us. And we all had our little celebratory moment in the group chat as well. All of us sent the best dancing emojis that we had and celebrated it wholeheartedly.
Pratibha, what about you? How did it feel?
My experience was also sort of similar to Nitanshi's experience. I was also sitting in a meeting, and my phone was constantly beeping. And the moment I unlocked my phone, I saw so many congratulatory messages, and I'm like, oh my God, like, is this real? Because what has happened with Laapataa Ladies when it released in theaters, and it was a big celebration time for all of us. Then it came on Netflix. Again, it was a beautiful celebration time. And now I was thinking, okay, now I think this is the full stop. I think maybe, now we might not get that much of opportunity to celebrate Laapataa Ladies. But the Oscar news coming in, oh my God, it was like, I felt so nostalgic that time. It felt like, oh, the film has started again. It felt like a beautiful wave coming in. And I'm so grateful that, we are getting this chance to represent our film at a global level. It's a big thing. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. Have you guys kept in touch since filming?
Yes, very much. Yes, in fact, I've met both of them quite recently, a little bit before this announcement. So yeah, we made a little family when we made this film, and we continue to keep that family going.
Kiran, I'm going to finish with you. My last question will be with you. What would be your message for women, young girls in these really small communities in India, small villages, who might feel like they don't have any other future but to get themselves married and leave their homes? What would be your message to them?
Well, my message would be that we definitely should look to what, to find our own purpose and our own identity, and there will always be people who will champion us. So my message would be, dig deep for the strength to be able to speak out from wherever you are and in whatever circumstances, and look for that space to find yourself, because I do think that there are more allies out there than we imagine, and that we must take that first step to express ourselves and, look for our own happiness. So I would say, be bold, be brave, and people will support you.
Fantastic. Congratulations again, ladies.
Thank you very much.
So lovely to speak to all of you. Really wonderful movie, and you both put in such excellent performances. So thanks again for being with me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the lovely chat. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!